Hey everybody, Spencer here from Geek of Spades, and you know two things I really love? The first is Mercs. The setting is just awesome. It's one of my favorite all-time tabletop settings. It's full of corporate douchebaggery and backstabbing and espionage and lies and terrorism, and it's really, really cool. Another thing I really love is dice games. It's one of the reasons why, despite the fact that I haven't played in months, I still want to buy the other expansions to Quarters that I don't own. So, what do you get when you combine Mercs with a dice game? You get Mercs Conflict. Yes, this is Mercs Conflict. It's a new dice game by MegaCon Games set in the Mercs world. And basically, each player takes control of one of the mega corporations, and you roll dice, and there's different dice that do different things, and you win the game by either destroying your opponents outright or having the most dice at the end of the game. So before we really dive into the rules, what do you get in this handy, convenient little box? You get 4 player boards, and already the game has surprised me because EU Incorporated is in here. Honestly, I was expecting the first 4 factions for the game to be like they were for the miniatures game. So you were going to have USCR, CCC, FCC, House 9, and then I was expecting Kemvar. I wasn't expecting EU, and that actually kind of makes me happy because A, I don't really care about Kemvar, B, I really like EU Incorporated, and C, mixes it up a bit. And these boards are really sturdy. I mean, they're nice, hard cardboard, so there's really no worry about them breaking unless you sit here and bend them like I was just doing. You get a bunch of these little lock tokens, which are used in the game if you damage sections of an opponent's board, and these are just little cardboard chits. You get these handy little reference cards that tell you what each face of the die does, which is really handy because, as you can see, there's a lot of different dice in this game. And these are just cardboard. I mean, there's nothing flashy about them, but they're really actually pretty nice. And then you get all the dice. It's a lot of dice. And these dice are really nice. I mean, they're really high quality, well made. Everything's pretty legible on them. I only think I have like 1 or 2 where this little number at the top corner here is a little smudged. But it's way better than what the first round of Quarters had. And, you know, I still love that game. So these are top quality. This is the kind of die I expect to get in a dice game. And lastly, you obviously get a rulebook. And the rulebook's pretty surprising because it's really kind of small. It's only 7 pages, which is good because it means the rules aren't super stupidly complicated. But there are a few instances where I think things could have been explained a little bit better in here. So what is the basic premise of Mercs Conflict? Well, each player gets one of these player boards. And you have these 6 different sections that are all marked off. And basically, you put your dice in there. So however many spots there are dictates how many dice you can have there. So, for example, EU Incorporated can only have 3 political dice, which are these green ones. And each of the different dice does different things. So you have political, espionage, economic, and military. But then you also have your basic resource dice, which are these little yellow guys. And you also get a leadership die, and each player gets one of these at the beginning of the game. So basically, at the start of the turn, you take dice that are here, and you allocate them up here, and that tells you how many dice you get to roll. And then you either get resources or you get a face that lets you do different things. And each of the different dice has different abilities. So the military dice let you damage your opponent, and that's where the lock markers come in handy. So when you attack your opponent, you do damage to their board, basically. And that's why these are numbered 1 through 6. You roll a d6 unless you have an ability that says you get to choose, and that tells you where you hit. And if there's a dice there, you have to get rid of that die. You end up throwing it into basically a discard pile, and it goes back to the general public, and anybody can buy it later. But if there's no dice there, it gets locked, and you can't use that section. And there's actually abilities that just let you lock sections, which is actually pretty cool. So if you can lock your opponent's 1, they can't do anything. They can't use any of the dice there, and that's really kind of handy. So basically, after you roll your dice, each player takes it in turn to take actions. So the first player, player 1, gets to take an action, do whatever they want. They can buy something, or they can use a die to do whatever it does. And then player 2 gets to do that. The first few times I played this game, I actually thought you did everything and then your opponent did everything, and it made it seem like whoever went first was ludicrously overpowered. Buying dice in the game is actually kind of interesting because everything costs the same amount. It costs 4 resources. Or you can spend 3 resources and discard a die you already own to pick up a new die. So if you really desperately need a military die and you only rolled 3 resources, pick something you have in abundance and just get rid of one of those and replace it with the military die. Now, I want to be very clear. I do like this game. It's very fun. It's very well made. But like every other game, it's not perfect. The biggest issue comes up when you're playing House 9. These guys have an ability called plausible deniability. It costs 2 resources to do it. Basically, you choose a die that your opponent controls, and you make them use that against another player. Or they have to discard it. Herein lies the problem. If you're playing a 2-player game, it doesn't say whether or not you can use a die against yourself. So this ability can basically insta-nuke your opponent's attack, because it makes it so, oh, well, can you attack yourself? Well, the rules don't say if you can, and that's kind of a problem. So that ability is a little overpowered with only 2 players. That brings me to my biggest issue with Mercs Conflict. Right out of the box, out of this beautiful box of stuff, you can only play with 2 people. And frankly, dice games aren't fun with 2 people. It's like playing a board game with 2 people. It's like playing Dominion with only 2 players. It wouldn't make any sense. It would be boring. And that's where the game suffers the most. I think with 4 players, or even 3 players, this game opens up a lot more possibility and a lot more tactical options. But at the end of the day, I do like the game. It is a good game. It is a fun game. It's got a lot of really cool mechanics. It just suffers from that one little flaw. And, you know, I am excited to see where it goes from here. I am excited to see how the other Megacons work into this game. I am excited to see how Kemvar plays out, because none of these dice really seem to fit their style, but who knows? So I do hope Conflict does well, because I want to see it keep going, and I want to see all the other factions get included. But if you're really, really strapped for cash and you want a dice game, it is a little tricky to suggest. It's a good game, has a few issues, but if you know somebody who went in on the Mercs Kickstarter and got it, definitely have them give you a demo. It is fun, and it is a really cool game, and it's definitely worth trying out. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this little review. I'll be doing a lot more Mercs stuff in the future. I mean, I've got a crap ton of stuff coming from the Recon Kickstarter, so be on the lookout for that. Don't forget, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter by checking out the links below. Be sure to keep it here to our YouTube channel, where we'll be posting more reviews, battle reports, Zen painting, editorials, Let's Plays, all sorts of good stuff. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys later.